Good morning. Welcome to yoga in the So Fine studio. And I'm Micki. We're going to do some gentle yoga with props, of course. We love props. So if you have a blanket, blocks, maybe a bolster or pillow, a chair, a wall space could be helpful for balance, and then maybe even a strap. And then we always start class however feels comfortable for you. So either seated or you could lay on your back. Personally, me, when my yoga teacher says you can come to lying on your back, I'm like, yes, and that's where I go. But I'll stay seated for the moment. We will start class on our back. So if that feels like a nice place for you to start in a moment after we ground and settle in, we will actually all come down onto our back if that feels comfortable for you. Remember that you always have permission, you have agency to modify and do whatever works best for you in your practice today. In the series, we have been going through the yamas and the niyamas. This is the book by Deborah Adele, and we are on the second to last. We're on the fourth niyama. So go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable position. That could be lying down or seated. And you might take a moment to settle the eyes or soften the gaze. Notice where there might be any tension in the body. And see if you can invite it to release with your breath, just sinking into your supports. And the fourth niyama, which are part of yoga's ethical practices, is called Svadhyaya. It's fun to say, actually, Svadhyaya. And it means self-study. So that initial invitation I gave, where of course you are welcome to do whatever suits you best, is really very linked to this idea of self-study and what works for you. So I have some quotes from the book, and you're welcome to use this as an intention today for your practice. One of my favorite quotes says, "There is a Cherokee story in which the grandfather is explaining to his grandson that two animals live inside his heart, a wolf and a lamb. When the grandson asks, 'What is he to do?' the grandfather replies, 'Feed the lamb.'" We can choose to grow ourselves into someone more compassionate and kind to both ourselves and to others. We must be willing to look at the selfishness and greed and anger that lies in us, but choose to feed the greatness. The path of growth is not a straight line. It does not look anything like what we think it should look like. In fact, often our belief system of what growth should look like is the very thing that stops our growth. What we think we know stops our inquiry. The Buddhists remind us to have a beginner's mind, to know that we don't know, It is this stance of humility that opens the door to learning and revelation. So, if these ideas of Svadhyaya self study speak to you, you're welcome to use them as an intention for your practice. In the book by Deborah Adele, The Yamas and the Niyamas, she refers to those 10 yamas and niyamas as jewels. So, whatever you're setting for an intention today, if it's self study or anything else, imagine it as a glowing jewel at your heart center. And if you're seated, you might come to lying on your back and then feel that glow from your heart of that glorious jewel, any color that feels right. And then you can plant your feet on the mat, walk your feet as wide as your mat, open your arms out into a letter T, and then you can start to just allow the knees to float a little bit side to side. And you might keep the movement relatively small. Maybe as you begin to float the knees a little side to side, you might find the movement growing, allowing the knees possibly to come all the way down to the ground if that feels right for you. Give yourself this moment of time to allow for self-study. What I love about that passage is it kind of reminds us that we all have that capacity to be angry, to flip our lids. We all have that human capacity, and we also have the human capacity to take a moment of pause to listen. And this is what we're training ourselves to do in yoga. Take a moment to come back to stillness, and you might hug your knees in towards your chest, maybe lifting your nose up towards your knees, curling into a little ball. And then with your next exhale, you can set your head back down. And if you have a strap nearby, let's go ahead and grab the strap. Or you don't have to use a strap. You could always just grab behind your right thigh, and you might stretch your left leg either long or plant your left foot on the mat. That would be a little bit gentler. If you have a strap and you'd like to use it, you might wrap the strap around the shin instead, right below the knee. So we call this one Apanasana, wind relieving pose. And it's actually really very good, I've heard, for our digestion. So a little bit of compression on the belly. And as I mentioned, you could always lengthen the left leg long if you want to deepen the stretch. Notice where you can soften. And then maybe make some rotations with the ankle. And you can always rotate the ankle in the other direction when you're ready. And then we'll take one more nice deep breath with this gentle compression on the belly. And then go ahead and set that foot back down, releasing the knee. You can bring both feet back onto the mat. And just notice any changes, any differences from left to right, allowing for yourself to tune in. Maybe a gentle windshield wiper of the knees could feel good once more. And then we'll get ready for the other side. So you can hug the left knee in towards the chest, either wrapping your hand behind the thigh or maybe around the shin or using a strap. And then keeping either the right foot on the ground or stretching the right leg long. And we do the right side and then the left side because of the direction of our intestines and how things are moving. So, wind relieving pose. You can use your imagination to what might make sense here with this pose. And then go ahead and rotate the ankles if you like. It's a nice thing about Zoom yoga, right? If you have any wind that needs relieving, just let it go. And then when you're ready, we'll take one more nice deep breath here. Give it another little squeeze. And then you can either set your feet on the mat or stretch your legs long, whichever would feel good to you. If you're stretching your legs long this time, you might reach your arms past your ears and just find a nice long body stretch. From our long body stretch, we're going to take a side bend. So you might lift your torso and then reach your arms over to the left, finding a C shape with the body. And then maybe you walk your legs a little bit over to the left. And you can notice that you're possibly in the shape of a banana. You might grasp hold of your right wrist with your left hand. Or another variation on this pose would be to bend the left knee and reach the left hand down to grasp hold of the ankle. And remember that using self-study, there's no goal, there's no end goal. You can just be wherever we are, knowing that we have options and choices. Take one more nice deep breath. Allow it to cascade down the right side of the body. Then we'll release the foot. Bring the torso back to center. Take one long body stretch in the middle, finding your center. On your exhale breath, you can start to lift your torso, reaching your hands like superhero arms over to the right. Maybe walk the legs a little bit over to the right, finding your banana shape. You can grasp hold of your left wrist with your right hand. Or if you want to try that other variation, holding onto the ankle, you might slide the right knee up towards the sky and maybe reach over with the right hand to grasp hold of the ankle. And if your hand is making contact with your ankle, you might offer just a little gentle massage. I should have mentioned that on the other side too. Now the left foot is, what about me? So maybe later we can give the left foot a little massage. Take another nice deep breath here and see if you can allow the breath to cascade down the whole left side of the body, scanning the left side body. And then when you're ready, we'll release the foot, bring the arms back to center, float the legs long, and find that nice long body stretch. On your next exhale, you can float the arms down towards the hips, bend into the knees, and plant the feet. And we'll get ready for a few rounds of bridge pose. So we're going to alternate arms and hips. So on your next inhale, you can float the arms up and overhead, making a giant rainbow over your body. And then on your next exhale, sweep the hands down towards the hips, plant the palms, press into the heels as you gently lift the hips coming up into bridge, using the strength of your glutes, your quads to come up any amount. On your next exhale, you can gently roll your spine back down, one vertebrae at a time, and then we'll alternate. Inhale, lifting the arms, exhaling to lower. Inhaling to press into your hands as you lift the hips, and exhaling to gently lower. Go ahead and take a few rounds alternating arms and hips. Breathing into the sensations. We'll take one more round of each. And the next time you come up into your bridge, see if you'd like to hold here, either in a supported bridge, so you could use a block underneath the sacrum. As you lift, you can slide the block under, or you could shimmy your arms a little bit under the body and interlace the hands underneath you and stay in an active bridge. Take a few calming breaths wherever you're at. And then whenever you feel ready, we'll release this, either sliding the block out from underneath you or just lowering yourself all the way down. We're going to come up to a seat next. So you could either hug your knees into your chest and rock and roll a little bit up and down the length of your spine, or roll onto one side and press yourself up into a seat. To come to a seated position, you can either find a chair, or if you'd like, you can use a blanket, and you might fold the blanket to make a little cushion to sit on. And this could help lift your hips a little bit up. You might come to a cross-legged seat if that feels okay. We call this Sukhasana. And then let's have that strap nearby as well. So just take a moment to find your comfortable seat. Maybe closing down the eyes for a moment or softening the gaze. Bring your awareness from your mind, almost like an anchor, dropping deep into your heart. Take a moment to observe that beautiful glowing jewel, your intention. And then on the next exhale, you can take a deeper look by allowing your head to gently bow towards your heart. Finding a little bit of stretch through the back of the neck, upper shoulders maybe. And then as you bring your right ear to your right shoulder, you might gently press your left hand into your thigh. And maybe you find a little bit of exploration with your right ear coming towards your right shoulder. You could start to gently, almost like shake the head no, lifting the chin and gently lowering it towards the shoulder. And then we'll start to nod our head yes, bringing the chin towards the chest and then lifting it up. So some nice gentle head nods. Just exploring the sides of the neck. On your next exhale, we'll bow the head towards the heart once more. Take a moment to pause and center. And then with your next inhale breath, you can bring the that's your left ear towards your left shoulder. And once more, you might find stillness or maybe just a gentle shaking of the head no. Really just lifting gracefully the chin and then lowering it back down. And then we'll find stillness once more. You might gently begin to nod the head yes. Just exploring any sort of sensations on the side of the neck. When you're ready, go ahead and find stillness once more. And then we'll bow the head towards the heart. Take one more nice deep breath. And then gently lift the gaze back up to center. When you're ready, we'll open the arms out wide, sweep the hands up towards the sky, and then as you exhale, you can bring your right hand down to the ground or to a block. Press into the earth as you reach the left fingertips up towards the sky. And once more, we might stretch the neck by looking up at the fingertips. And then as you exhale, softly lower your gaze down towards the ground. And as you gently shake your head no, lifting and lowering your gaze, coming back to that idea of Svadhyaya, self-study, just giving yourself permission to gently, gracefully be able to say no, allowing yourself to set those boundaries. The next time your hand or your gaze finds your upper hand, we'll press into the right hand to lift both hands up towards the sky, and then exhale, draw the hands into the heart center. Take a moment to press the palms towards each other, finding some activation for the arms, the upper back, the shoulders. And then on your next inhale, we'll bloom the middle fingers open into a lotus flower. Send that intention out into the universe as you press the palms up. Reach the fingertips up towards the sky, and then we'll plant the left hand either on a block or on the earth, pressing into the earth as you lift the right arm up towards the sky. And you might turn your gaze up, and then as you exhale, slowly, gently turn your gaze towards your lower hand. Now you don't have to do these no nods. You could find a dristi, a gentle gaze point, or just keep stretching up and down as you practice gracefully, gently saying no, using our discernment and our own self-study. On the next inhale, you can lift both arms back up towards the sky. Exhale, draw the hands into the heart. And once more, press the palms a little bit together. Feel the activation in your upper back, upper body. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then you can release the hands. You might lean back, stretch the legs long, give them a little shake, and then maybe try crossing them the opposite way. And it might feel very awkward. If it's too uncomfortable, go back to your usual way or find a way to make yourself comfortable. From here, we'll find our strap, and you can always do these moves standing too if it's hard to be seated. So we're going to use the strap for eagle arms. Or sorry, no, cow face arms. This is Gomukhasana. So let's stretch the arms out as if we have large eagle wings. And then we'll take our hand with the strap up towards the sky, bend the elbows, allow the strap to drape down your back. And then you can flip the palm on the left hand or the opposite hand, whichever one you're using, to reach down and around to grab hold of the strap. So you can find a little bit of traction here. As you gently find that stretch for your shoulders, maybe your upper back. Who knows where you're feeling it in your own body? And this is the practice of self-study. You might turn your gaze over towards the left, just peeking behind you any amount. And then on your exhale, you might soften your gaze down towards your left side body. A little bit of a bow of the head. Take one more nice deep breath, and then we'll float the gaze back to center. Release the hands, dropping the strap. Go ahead and bring the hands to rest on the lap, and just take a moment to pause. We'll take one more nice deep breath. And then let's find the other side. So I'm going to bring the strap into my left hand now, wrap the strap around that space between the pointer finger and the thumb so that my strap is draped over my hand. And then we'll spread both arms wide. Reach, reach, reach. And on your next exhale, you can float the left arm up, bend the elbow, allow the strap to drape down your back. And then we'll flip the right palm so it's facing back, the thumb is down, and you can wrap that hand around, grasp hold of the strap, and maybe you walk your hands towards each other. Just find a way that you can comfortably settle in to this side, especially noticing if there are slight differences from left to right. You can keep your gaze pointing forward, or you could exhale and turn your gaze over your right shoulder, peeking back behind you, any amount. Nice little stretch for the neck, perhaps. If it would feel good on your next exhale, you might bow your head down, gazing over towards your right side body. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then we'll float the gaze back to center. Release the hands, release the strap. Allow your hands to set for a moment on your thighs or on your knees. Just take a moment to pause. It might feel good to roll the shoulders a little bit, just loosening up, so bringing them up towards the ears and back and down around. Maybe it would feel good to toggle one shoulder at a time. And then when you're ready, go ahead and come back to stillness. Feel free to find hands and knees for your cat-cow, or you're welcome to stay seated for cat-cow. If you'd like to pad the knees, you could always bring a blanket underneath the knees for extra support. And remember that if you'd like to be off the wrists, you could bring blocks and bring your forearms onto blocks. And this would be sort of an adjustment for tabletop. Or feel free to skip it all together. So if you're in your tabletop or seated, you can inhale, lift the heart forward, bring the belly forward, and then as you exhale, round into your spine for your cat pose. Go ahead and take a few rounds of breath in cat and cow. Just noticing what you notice, allowing yourself, if you'd like, to find some other movements here, like drawing a big circle with the belly button. I realize I forgot to turn on some of my lights, so I came off to the side to get the lights on. From your tabletop, after a few rounds of cat and cow, feel free to either find a downward facing dog or a child's pose, whatever would work best for you. I'm using the blocks here for downward dog, and I have them on the medium setting. You could always do the low setting to make sure they're more stable. Maybe pedaling the heels, sashaying the hips. And if you're in downward dog, at any moment, take a moment to pause. And then maybe you want to bend the knees and allow them to hover for a moment over the earth, creating a little bit of heat and strengthening here. Might be a little quiver. And then gently, softly land the knees. And you might open the knees wide. Bring the big toes to touch. Sink the hips back. And maybe walk the hands out in front for child's pose. You might lower your forehead down to the mat, or if it feels like it won't reach all the way down, you could stack your palms, make a little pillow to rest your forehead. From this wide kneed child's pose, we're going to take a little side bend. So the way I'm going to do this is bring my forearm, my left forearm, right underneath where my forehead is going to land, and I'm walking a little over to the left. And then I'll bring my forehead to rest on my forearm and maybe reach the right fingertips out to the left and find a little side bend here or a big side bend, whatever would feel best for you. And just feel the heaviness of your big, heavy brain resting on your forearm. And you might really just let the weight of the head go. Take one more nice deep breath. And then when you're ready, you can come back to center and we'll try the other side. So bringing that right forearm off to the right, you could lower your forehead down onto the right forearm and maybe reach the left fingertips to the right. Sending your breath cascading down the left side body. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then when you're ready, you can come back to center. Plant your palms once more underneath your shoulders. We'll come back up into a tabletop. And we are going to make our way to standing. So if you'd like to try a downward dog, we've done the chair dog in the past with hands on chairs or hands on blocks. So feel free to find a downward dog or skip the downward dog and come into a forward fold. And at this time, I will clear my blanket off to the side. And you can either walk or hop eventually to a forward fold. We'll meet in a forward fold. Take a moment here to maybe walk the feet a little wider than hips distance, maybe to the edges of your mat. And then you might wrap your hands around your opposite forearms and just gently ragdoll here, hanging heavy. You could press into one foot, bend the opposite knee as you gently ragdoll your upper body from left to right. Take one more nice deep breath, and then we'll find stillness. Release the hands, either bring them to rest on the shins or on blocks or on the seat of a chair. You can press into that support and then lift and lengthen your spine halfway. Take a nice deep breath, and then on your exhale, go ahead and find that forward fold one more time. You can go ahead and do this motion 2 more times, inhaling to lengthen into halfway lift, exhaling to fold. Inhale, we call this Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. The next time you come into a forward fold, release your hands down to the ground. Find a little micro bend in your knees and imagine your legs are spring loaded. We'll sweep the hands, sweep the hands out to the side, float the torso up and come up to stand. You can sweep your hands up towards the sky and then exhale, draw them into the heart center. Let's do that 2 more times. Upward salute, reach the arms up, circle in to the heart. As you exhale, pressing the palms together, maybe with enthusiasm. Feeling a little heat. Inhale, sweep them up. Exhale, draw them into the heart. Go ahead and one more time. Inhale, sweep the arms up, and then exhale, draw them strongly into the heart. And then we'll land in our mountain pose, Tadasana. Coming to stand on your feet. I'm just getting my props out of the way here so you can see me. We're going to go through a few rounds of some half sun salutations. And the reason why these are half sun salutations is like a full sun salutation typically has us coming back into downward dog and then coming onto the belly. So if that's part of your practice, you're welcome to do that. I love a half sun salutation because we can stay standing. So I'll do this actually facing you, and it's going to involve the forward fold and the halfway lift as well. So I have the blocks out in front, and then we can also include a little side bend. So go ahead and inhale, sweep your arms up towards the sky. Grab your left wrist with your right hand, and then we'll stretch it over to the right. Inhale to center, switch your clasp of your hand up and over, stretching to the left. Inhale directly up, and then exhale, swan dive forward. Press into either your legs or your blocks. We'll inhale for halfway lift, and then exhale to forward fold. Inhale, sweep it back up to stand. And exhale, draw the hands together at the heart. So this was one full cycle. So we'll each take 3 more at your own pace. So inhale, sweep the arms up. I'll guide you through this next one. Lean over to the right, back to center. Exhale, lean to the left. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. And inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart. And you can go ahead and do that 2 more times at your own pace. Listening for the pace and the rhythm of your own breath. And after you complete that last round, go ahead and meet me in mountain pose, Tadasana. You can have your hands at your sides, or maybe you bring your hands to rest for a moment on your heart. Just feeling the rhythm of your own heartbeat. And then you can blink the eyes open. We'll do another breath practice called breath of joy. And so for this one, we're going to stand in Tadasana, mountain pose. So feel your feet rooting down on the earth. Feel a nice soft bend in your knees. So not a deep bend, just a slight micro bend, not locking the knees. So you kind of feel yourself like you could bounce a little bit. And this is kind of a very bouncy movement. So it's going to be 3 sharp inhales followed by an exhale to release it all. So it goes like this. We'll inhale the arms like zombies, and then inhale the arms out to eagles, inhale the arms up, and then you could even step your feet a little bit wider. You're going to exhale, let it all go. Then we sweep it up, exhale. After your last round, you might hang in this forward fold. One more time, wrapping the opposite elbows, or maybe it feels better to just come back to stand. Finding what feels right for you. You might once more check in with your heartbeat and notice how that changes, how that shifts things. And take another nice deep breath. And we'll blink the eyes open. We're going to get ready for Warrior One next. So for this, I'm going to offer the option of a balance at the end of Warrior One. So if you would like, you might have something, you might practice this whole sequence like next to a wall or next to like a bed or something that if you were to fall, that you could feel like it would catch you. Okay, and remember that we have options all along the way. So I'll start with the right foot forward, left foot back. You could bring your hands onto blocks and maybe start out in a little lunge. And we could kind of play around with just finding some mobility back and forth in your lunge. And remember, you could always use, instead of a blocks, a seat of a chair. And I realize I'm going to get this blanket out of the way because I'll need all that space beside me later for our balance, and that will be the option of half moon pose. From here, we'll lower the back heel. Find a strong, steady stance. So feel free to have your feet offset from each other as if they were on two different train tracks. And then you can bring your hands to your hips, press into the front leg as you lift up to come into a Warrior One position. So you're kind of in a lunge here. Allow your tailbone to sink back as you draw your pelvis forward a little bit, engaging your low belly. And you could leave your hands here or bring them to your heart or lift them up towards the sky. Maybe offer yourself a little back bend here. On the next exhale, we're going to lean the torso forward. So if your hands are floating up, you can swing them back towards your hips. Lean your torso forward as if you're winning a race, stretching into that finish line. And then we'll sweep the arms up, coming back into Warrior One. Exhale, leaning forward. And remember, you could always do this with just your hands at your hips too. A little bit of movement, just leaning forward, finding what is required. Maybe one more time. And then from here, we're going to find Humble Warrior. So you might use a strap to bring your hands back, stretching your hands in between the strap, or you could tug onto the back of your shirt, or you could interlace your hands behind you and allow the hands to rest at the low back. From here, we'll inhale, lift the heart, and then exhale, hinge from the hips, allow your torso to come down and maybe rest on your front thigh. Maybe you stretch your spine. You could reach your hands up towards the sky, allowing them to gently fall overhead, only if that feels okay for the shoulders. On your next exhale, we'll release the hands, bring them to the blocks or the ground or to your chair, and then pivot so we're back in that lunge that we started with. From here, we're going to play around with balance in Warrior Three, and then we have the option to include the half moon. So what I'm going to do is walk my blocks forward. I'm framing the front foot, And then you can hop the back foot in, and maybe you just kick it up a little bit, standing on one leg. And this could be your warrior three. If you want to try the half moon, you could peel the hip open so the hips are stacked. I'm going to step my block to the right and then maybe bring the hand onto the hip. For half moon pose, you could float that hand up towards the sky. And this one is so fun to practice at a wall because you can actually lean against the wall if you have that wall space handy. We won't be here for long, so take a few deep breaths if you'd like. At any point, come back into your warrior three, and then you might step forward into a forward fold. You can take a pause in your forward fold. When you're ready, you could press into support for halfway lift. Exhale to gently forward fold. And then we'll inhale to come back up to stand in Tadasana, mountain pose. And once more, you might bring your hands onto your heart. Just feel the beating of your heart. Sense immense gratitude for that unique heart that is your very own while you inhabit this gift of a body. Only you can know the contents of your heart. And that's how we get to know it, through self-study. Go ahead and blink your eyes open and we'll get ready for that sequence on the other side. So I'm just going to turn so that you can still hopefully see me. We'll start out this time with the left foot forward, right foot back, and you can step into your lunge. Maybe you take a moment here to find yourself moving a little bit back and forth. Speaking of self-study, I feel like there's something on the bottom of my foot. What is that? I feel like I stepped on something. And then from here, with your heel lifted, you can start to turn that heel down and your toes will be pointing out at an angle. Bending into the front knee, we'll find our warrior one. So you can bring your hands to your hips, float your torso upright. And then bend softly into that front knee. You can either keep your hands at your hips or bring them to your heart, or maybe you float them up towards the sky. Looking up, warrior one. On the next exhale, you could sweep your hands down, bring your torso forward. Inhale to rise up into warrior one. Exhale, lean the torso forward, sweep the hands back. Go ahead and find this 2 more times at your own pace. The next time your hands sweep back, you can bring your torso upright and then feel free to interlace your hands at your low back. Maybe this time you try the awkward way. So it's going to be the opposite as before. And then we'll find this humble warrior. So inhaling to lift the heart, exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Allow your torso to come and rest on your front thigh. And maybe you extend your arms overhead, or remember you could always bring them to blocks. Allow yourself to rest here in humble warrior, feeling the support of your legs and the softness maybe of your upper body. We'll take one more nice deep breath. And then we're going to turn this into our standing balance. So that's either warrior three or half moon. So you could pivot onto the ball of your back foot. Start to walk your blocks forward, stepping that back foot in any amount. And I'm framing now the left foot with my blocks. And maybe you start to pick up the back heel, bringing your weight into your standing leg. And then you could walk, if you want to go from warrior three, this is warrior three here. If you want to stack the hips, you can roll the top hip open, step the left block over to the left, and then maybe you bring your hand to your hip or float it up towards the sky for Ardha Chandrasana half moon. Or at any time, bring it back to warrior three, leveling the hips to the ground. And eventually, when you feel ready, we'll meet up in a forward fold. Stepping both feet to the front of the mat. Then you can inhale here to lift up halfway, lengthening the spine. Exhale to forward fold. And then we'll sweep the hands up. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart. And once more, feel the beating of your unique heart. The drumbeat of your life. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then when you're ready, we're going to make our way onto our bellies. To get there, I'm going to come through downward facing dog, but you can climb there any way you like, getting to the floor in your favorite way. So you can go ahead and maybe set your blocks on the mat, step a feet back, finding your downward dog. And maybe you want to take a moment in the crouching tiger, bending the knees and hovering for a moment over the earth with a little tremble, little heat. Softly land the knees, and then you could come onto your forearms and walk the knees back or tuck the toes under for a forearm plank. So that can be a forearm plank on the knees or on the toes. Whenever you're ready, you can soften all the way down to the ground, untuck the toes, press the tops of the feet into the mat, and maybe you want to stack the elbows underneath the shoulders, plant the palms onto the earth. Draw the belly up a little towards the spine as you tilt the pubic bone down towards the ground for Sphinx pose. Nice back bend. On the next exhale, you might turn your gaze a little bit to the left. And inhale, bring it back to center. Exhale, turn the gaze to the right. Inhale it back to center. And then exhale, soften your forehead either down to the ground or bring the palms to stack to make a little pillow to rest your forehead. As you rest here in crocodile pose, Makrasana, you might just take a moment to observe your thoughts. Maybe there's an opportunity at this moment, if there are thoughts that you notice aren't serving you, can you invite them to release out through your head, through your hands, dissolving and composting into the ground. Take another nice deep breath here. And then we'll lift the head, stretch the arms forward like you're a flying superhero. And then you could lower your head down to the ground or to a block for your forehead if you'd like some support. We're going to do some cross body activation. So as you imagine yourself this flying superhero hovering over the earth, see if you can use the strength of your core to energetically, starting from your center, lift your right hand and maybe your left leg to float over the earth. On your exhale, you can soften them both back down. On your next inhale, we'll start from the center of the body, from your navel center, and then see if you can energetically lift your left hand and right leg to hover. Maybe pressing into the right hand and the left leg for support. On your exhale, you can soften that action. And feel free to go at your own pace, trying this 2 more times on each side. And just notice as you try each side how it can change a little from left to right. And even with practice, does it get easier? Take one more nice deep breath here. And then when you're ready, you can soften that effort. We'll bring the palms underneath the shoulders, press the tops of the feet into the mat, and then go ahead and roll your shoulders up and back as you lift the heart for a baby cobra. You might lighten your hands above the earth using the strength of your spine to lift you upright. And then we'll return the hands to the mat, soften your forehead down, tuck your toes under, and then you can press up to tabletop. And we'll walk the knees forward to come onto our seat. Swinging your legs around. If that strap is handy, maybe it would be fun to use the strap for a boat pose. So you could wrap the strap around the feet, leaving the heels on the mat. You could flex the toes up towards the knees. And then here could be your boat pose. You could use the strap to lean back any amount, and then eventually you could see about balancing, lifting your heels up off the mat, holding on to the reins with your hands, using the strength of your core to lift your heart. Of course, if there's any other version of Navasana boat pose that you prefer, go ahead and try that in its place. Take one more nice deep breath here, and then we'll set the feet back down, toss the strap off to the side, and maybe hug behind the knees as you roll onto your back. You could give yourself a little hug here, hugging the knees in. Maybe you keep your hands behind your thighs and start to open your knees wide. Or you could walk your hands up onto your ankles. Maybe grab hold of your feet for happy baby pose, Ananda Balasana. And that happy part, the Ananda, you might experience through a soft, graceful smile, allowing a smile to wash across your lips. I have to check out this little spot on my foot because it looks like I have a tiny little callus or something. This one's more as the idea of self-study. What are we noticing in our body? How can we take the time for ourselves? Towards the end of class, before Shavasana, I like to give you some time for your own investigation, or if there were any other poses that you wanted to try, now would be a good time for that. If you'd like a suggestion, if you can't think of anything you'd like to offer yourself, I'm going to suggest figure 4 at the wall. So this is your option. I'm using, actually, instead of a wall, I'm going to use the bed here. So just bringing your feet maybe like in a upside down tabletop position. You could stretch your feet onto the wall or onto a support. And then I'll reach my left leg long, bring the right ankle on top of the left thigh, and then start to bend that knee so that the shape can come in towards the body. And this is my favorite way to do figure 4. You could wrap your hands behind your left thigh to draw the shape in closer. The nice thing about using a supportive structure that you can really press your foot into is that you can relax your whole upper body. Take a nice deep breath here, and you can stay right here, or if you'd like, we can turn this shape into a twist. So I'm going to bring the shape a little bit in towards the body, and then allow the right foot to travel down towards the mat. So the whole entire structure is rolling over to the left, and then your right foot might land on the mat. And if it feels good, if it's in reach, you could bring your left hand to rest on your right foot. Maybe once more offering it a little massage or just holding on for some leverage. Maybe you stretch your right arm out to the right. And of course, if you prefer a traditional twist instead, that's fine too. Finding those areas of sensation and offering them the support of your breath. The presence and the awareness of your own self-study, Svadhyaya. Take one more nice deep breath here, and we'll unwind from this twist, and you can find the other side. So you can bring your feet onto your supportive structure. This time I'm going to stretch my right leg long, bend the left knee, and sweep the left ankle on top of the right thigh. Draw the shape in towards the body by just pressing the heel against your structure. You could flex your toes towards your knees. Really allow yourself to soften here and settle in. If your mind starts to notice any differences from left to right, give yourself that grace of compassion and curiosity. And then if you'd like to turn this into a twist, you can allow the whole structure to make its way to the right side, bringing your left foot over to the ground, maybe catching your left foot in your right hand if that feels good. Stretching your left arm out, you can find this version of a twist or any one that you like. You might offer a little massage with your right hand for your left foot. Believe it or not, it's almost time for our final resting pose, Shavasana. Allow yourself to slowly, gently move in that direction if you feel ready. Remembering that you can always return to a seat if you prefer that, or find some coziness with blankets, maybe a bolster underneath your knee, something that can give you some warmth and coziness for your corpse pose, Shavasana. As you begin to settle in, you can allow some more of these words about Svadhyaya, self-study, to just gently reign over you. She says the guideline of Svadhyaya invites us to not shut the unpleasant parts of ourselves away, but to carry them with kindness and compassion. I remember when Gandhi was interviewed by a reporter who asked him if he ever got incensed and outraged at his oppressors. Gandhi solemnly replied that no, he didn't, because he knew what existed in the interior landscape of his own being. He was not afraid to look at the fullness of emotions inside himself. And because of that fearless act of witnessing his inner being, he was able to maintain courage rooted in kindness and compassion. Gandhi knew that denial cuts us off from the full reality of ourselves. We need our eyes and hearts wide open to look at every ripple of disharmony that we experience. If we hide the picture and the reality of ourselves, how can our hearts grow? If we close our eyes, our very lives rest in a false foundation. We can't be afraid to look. Allow yourself to soften here, letting go of any effort, allowing your thoughts to simply float by like clouds passing overhead. Feel held and nurtured by the loving earth beneath you. You can begin to consciously deepen your breath and then take a moment to scan your body for aliveness. Take a moment to revisit your heart center and the intention that you set for your practice today. Sense it as a glowing jewel from your heart center. As you inhale, feel the glow from your heart. Fill your body with light and shine out through your pores. With your exhale, allow it to soften, deepen, fade, recognizing that balance of effort and ease. And when you're ready, you can start to invite some gentle movements into your fingers and toes, rotating your wrists and your ankles. Allow yourself to find a long body stretch, reaching your arms past your ears, growing long in both directions. And then when you're ready, you can roll onto one side, cradle yourself for a moment in a fetal position. And then when you're ready, you can press yourself up into a seat. Maybe you bring your hands to meet at your heart center in a gesture of gratitude, Anjali Mudra. When you're ready, you can allow your head to gently bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. It's such an honor and privilege to guide you through your practice. Thank you so much for joining me today. And feel free to let me know if you have any thoughts or questions about class.